Good afternoon to our viewers, listeners, and everyone out there. Thank you again for joining us for our inaugural episode of the EXNESS SSA podcast series. And my co-host, Sihle Tuta, our commercial director at South Africa, is going to be joining me today. And we hope you find a lot of value from this series that we've prepared for you over at EXNESS. Sihle, hi, how are you?
Hello, Terence. How are you doing?
I'm very well.
Hello to all our viewers across the continent. Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah, it's been quite a lot of stuff happening in the markets. In particular, I think if we look at the performance of the different currencies, if we look at gold, gold has done exceedingly well this year. I mean, 2,450, off the top of my head, that's been an all-time high that we've gotten. We got an all-time high as well in the NASDAQ 100, also traded as the US Tech on our platform. And what's been your take on the markets this year?
So I think the hot topic on everyone's lips is this government of national unity. So we recently had an election in South Africa. And in fact, as we speak today, I think all of the members of parliament are being sworn in, which saw the rand against the US dollar sort of dilly-dally go up and down. I mean, we know the rand that it's a very volatile currency. And obviously in the last couple of days, couple of weeks, because of the election and because of what a lot of people are expecting, we saw the rand jumping, between 17, 18 from 19 rand. So what I expect, if this government of national unity is done correctly, I think we should see the rand gain some strength against the dollar. Yeah. Which can be a good and a bad thing at the same time, depending on which side of the table you're in. I mean, if you're making money in dollars versus making money in rands, then you obviously can know whether it's a good or a bad thing.
Right.
But it's quite interesting for EXNESS traders because it presents a fantastic opportunity to trade the currency pair. I mean, one thing that I do acknowledge that the rand, as we know it, can be a very expensive pair to trade because it's an exotic currency. Yeah. It's not expensive because of a platform. It's just an expensive currency pair to trade across the board. Right. Which is why it's very necessary to be very strategic and very careful with the broker you choose when you're trading currencies, especially an exotic currency like the rand. So I think what's happening now in our political landscape in South Africa presents a fantastic opportunity for traders, both intraday and long term. For those who trade the rand specifically. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've mentioned some very key points there, and I think we'll touch on the two that interlink. I mean, you mentioned the historic moment, with the government of national unity currently in negotiation with the members of parliament being sworn in this week, and to that, how the opportunity presents itself to actually trade the South African rand. I mean, as you mentioned earlier in the year, it got to above 19. Now it's just broken 18, as you mentioned. The 17 handle. So if you are in the trade in the right direction, I'm sure you're smiling.
No, definitely. I mean, if you had the foresight to see what's happening to the rand now, a couple of weeks ago, and jumped into the trade, you would definitely be in the money now. I mean, if you look at all the other markets, including the local sort of JSE, all of the stocks that are listed on there, all of the markets are up, which means generally the markets really like this government of national unity, which is basically all the political parties that were being voted for working together to form a government that is going to work, for South Africa, which is, I think, is good for our currency. The ZAR, as you can see, of how it's performing, which again presents a fantastic opportunity for traders to take advantage of the price movements. I mean, there's always an argument about whether or not the rand is a good currency to trade. I think that really depends who you're speaking to.
Right.
In my opinion, I really like the rand. I like trading the rand with EXNESS specifically, because of the volatility that it provides.
Not because you work there.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think it is a fact that anyone who's watching this episode can research. You can go online, you can go onto the EXNESS website, and really see the spread and the commissions that we charge on all the different accounts, especially when you're trading exotic currencies like the rand. I think our costs are very competitive. We arguably one of the most cost-effective brokers to trade with, especially if you're trading exotic currencies. So that is definitely a benefit and an advantage to all the traders across the continent.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, we were at the Finance Magnates Africa Summit 2014 together. We had our EXNESS booth there, along with our other colleagues at EXNESS, from the different divisions.
Yeah.
Very successful. And one of the things I presented at the summit was, the opportunity of the South African rand,
Yeah.
in this election year. And often traders look at technical analysis alone as an indicator of trading opportunities. But they miss the opportunity to trade, geopolitical risks and fundamental risks, which often presents bigger and more sustained moves that you can increase your position with time, as you mentioned, having that foresight and that opportunity. And I did allude to, depending on which government it's formed from there, you'll see how the market reacts and to trade that reaction, you know. And I think you mentioned, that, the South African rand. So the currency pair we're speaking of here is referred to as dollar rand. So the US dollar traded against the South African rand,
That's
right?
correct,
In specific. And as you mentioned, it's a popular trade, even amongst institutional investors. It's a very popular carry trade over the years, and traded globally. And so this half of the year, May 29th, was the South African election.
Yes.
So we're talking dollar rand here.
Yeah.
In the second half of the year, we've got the other side of elections, which is going to be the US elections as well. And one aspect or two aspects that you have spoken about that I think will be very crucial for our viewers and listeners to grasp is the opportunity that trading such an exotic currency presents itself. We've seen the opportunity on this first half of the year with the South African election and the anticipated US elections coming in the later half of the year. And then choosing the right broker.
Yes.
You've mentioned spread, you've mentioned the cost it will take, and how you use the product itself and the comparison one can easily make. And why is it important really to choose the right broker under these circumstances?
Well, so trading is a business.
Right.
And it needs to be approached accordingly. When you're running a business, you need to sort of look at the cost efficiency of your business.
Right.
Because you don't want to pay unnecessary costs. Right. So if you do a cost comparison or cost analysis in the industry, looking at how much you pay in spread if you're trading the ZAR, compared to other brokers, you need to go with the sort of most cost-effective option. And I believe that EXNESS is that option, particularly because, like I said earlier, the rand is an exotic currency, which means the spread tends to be very high across the board.
Right.
The spread can very widen.
So there's a premium that can be charged there by other brokers.
Definitely. So you don't want to pay unnecessary costs. Why would you pay double or three times the spread when there's a trading platform like EXNESS where you pay minimal sort of spreads? So that's definitely something that you want to look at.
Yes.
Trading conditions are very critical to your success as a trader. You want to trade with a reputable broker. You want to trade with a broker that is licensed and regulated in the local environment. You want to trade with a broker where customer support is key. Like in EXNESS, as an example, our customer support is 24/7, which means at any given point, if you want to talk to somebody, there's always going to be somebody on the other side of the line in multiple languages even. So that's just one thing. But trading conditions are very, very, very important. If you look at what some of the other brokers do to try and earn an extra buck, it can really be detrimental to the outcome of your trades. So choosing a correct broker is very critical in your trading career because you're running a business. This is not a hobby. So you want to ensure that the pricing model of the broker you're trading with is correct, which means it's very cost efficient for you, and also the trading conditions, which means whenever you execute a trade, you want to be sure that you're almost guaranteed that your trade is going to be executed at the right price. Obviously, sometimes things go wrong because we're dealing with technology. But of course, when things do go wrong, you want to know that you have got recourse. And that is why trading with a broker that is regulated is very critical. So that when something goes wrong, God forbid, then you've got recourse. That is obviously after you've exhausted all the internal processes, because there are processes in place for you to take advantage of if you feel that something went wrong. And if for some reason those can't be resolved internally, then of course you can sort of approach the regulator. So to answer your question directly, the trading conditions are very important, which is what we offer at EXNESS. And then obviously the pricing, depending on the account type, which is obviously influenced by your trading style, whether you're a position trader as opposed to whether you're a scalper, intraday trader, and something like that. But I have a question for you, though. What is your projection? I mean, we're now sort of closing off Q2. You're going to Q3, which is the second half of the year. Where do you see the rand going against the US dollar? What do you anticipate the rand to be trading at towards the end of the year against the US dollar? Do you think it's going to strengthen or do you think it's going to weaken?
Yeah, that's $1 million question. I remember last year speaking with some friends in industry. I think we were having the same conversation actually. When we're having afternoon tea. And we spoke of some of the renowned economists and the big calls they had made, for rand strength at the end of the year. And it was the complete opposite. So I think it speaks to that point of how volatile the South African rand is against the US dollar, in particular against the US dollar, when we look at this particular currency pair. And the two factors that we're looking at is this fundamentals in South Africa and the fundamentals in the US. So I'll approach the answer in this way. So right now, the biggest play is the government of national unity, right? So I think the first step was its announcement and its intended makeup. We've seen the big rally. We've come off the tops of 19 big figure to dollar rand. Now we are at the 17 handle, right, on this. Then the next stage is going to be who's going to make up the government of national unity, the actual positions and posts that are going to be filled, both at national level and at local government level as well. And as you mentioned, if this mix is gotten right, I think we'll see further strength in the South African rand. The third thing is going to be the actual policies that are going to be announced. So the draft document of intent that has gone out outlined, I think, about 7 to maybe 11 key, policy points that they are looking to tackle over the next 5 years, which will be about the term for this administration, essentially. So now the actual policies that will be announced in terms of the implementation of them in the process, and we'll see another wave of South African rand strengthening, and then the mechanics and the implementation will be the fourth wave. So I think each of these points become, reference points, for traders to look at. And if they keep saying the right things and going in the same way, we keep getting rand strength. So on the back of that, on the South African fundamentals alone, I'm seeing at least 1650 getting around to that level for the South African rand towards the end of the year. Then which is a good thing. Yeah, which is very good. Yes, for South Africans. Which is very good. Which is very good. The other matrix, and now which could either increase that 1650 maybe towards 1550, would now be the play on the US politics in terms of the presidential candidates and the debates, and how that makeup is starting to look leading towards the actual election days, how the electoral votes are going to comment. So first, as we've seen, Trump is leading that Republican nomination and the debates that will come with the current incumbent, President Biden. And should that now play out with regards to the actual policies that they'll announce for the next administration? It'll be the second point to watch out for in terms of dollar strength.
I wanted to interject on the description or the analysis you just given, which is more obviously high level and more on the fundamental side. But how does a trader, an EXNESS trader who has sort of done the speculation and sort of determined that this is the direction that the rand is taking, now how do you put all that together to make sense for a trading opportunity? Right? And what are some of the tools that EXNESS offers as a platform that you can use to your advantage to obviously make the correct trading decision?
Okay. That's a very practical question. So I think one of my favorite tools, at EXNESS is the web terminal, the actual trading platform. I know a lot of traders and fellas from back in the day tend to use other different platforms, and those platforms are fantastic. They're great. But the good thing about the EXNESS web terminal is you can actually implement the idea in a very simple, seamless way. The other, traditional platforms, if I can call it that, tend to be a little bit more technical. So you find that executing the trade idea, because that's what it is, it's a trade idea. So the trade idea that we have here is the rand is going to relatively strengthen against the US dollar, looking at these 4 reference points. So far, we've had, call it 1 or 2 of those reference points. So there's still another 2, 3, so to speak, that are to come. So you want to implement your buy stops, for example, implement your take profit levels, your stop loss levels, your sell stop limits. And the platform, the web terminal on EXNESS makes it easier to simply see where you want the trade to enter, where you want it to be, the take profit to be, and where you'd like the stop loss to be. You've got your trade idea onto the system. That's the first way. The second tool as well, because charting is also important. Whether you are a technical analysis guru or not, you still rely on charting to see where the market is, right? And to ascertain if it's the right level to get in or not, which is very easy to do with the EXNESS web terminal. You can easily establish the previous highs, the previous lows, look at the different time frames, and it's seamless. It's very comparable to one of the popular charting tools that are out there in the market at the moment, because it's been developed with that same seamless view. Utilizing your EXNESS web terminal, you've got indicators that you can also put on the chart. For example, your moving averages or your exponential moving average, in terms of establishing a short period of time, medium time frame, longer time frame. So, for example, you could put 20-day, 50-day, 100-day, and alternate it from that. So that will help you ascertain your levels as well. If they're speaking to each other, that is your take profit with your stop loss. You will see it, in your moving average, in as much as you've established those levels in terms of your pending orders. So that's one practical way to actually implement the trade idea for our traders out there. You use that technical ability that we offer you at EXNESS, including those reference points that we've mentioned, and put those pending orders. And when the levels get hit, you can actively manage the trades as well in terms of increasing the risk or lowering the risk exposure that you actually have in the market, but have a timeline. I think what we're talking about is dollar rand from now till the end of the year. So that becomes intraday trade opportunities, including longer term positions that you can implement. And you can do both. You can have your intraday play while you still have your, open longer term position.
So there's been an ongoing debate, if you like, not an argument, between traders as to which style of trading is more accurate than the other.
Yeah.
Is it technical analysis or is it fundamental analysis? I mean, you get traders who gravitate more towards fundamental analysis and they swear by it. Then you get guys who are like, nah, but how can you disregard technical analysis? How do you disregard the charts over fundamental? You know, so I mean, I know it's a difficult question to answer because both have their merits.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, which would you say, in the long term, delivers more accurate results? I mean, we know this is purely speculation. There's no sort of nothing set in stone.
Yeah.
But in your experience, which style sort of delivers sort of consistent results over time, technical or fundamental?
I think both.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think the right mix of both. And that mix is also dependent on personality.
Yeah.
You know, your personality will always come out in your trading ability and understand your personality as well to establish what works. And you often find traders that would be very good intraday traders trying to be position traders. They don't have that kind of patience, you know, and then traders that are very good position traders try to be intraday traders because that's what they've heard or, you know, been told is the thing to do, to take an opportunity each day. And they will struggle, you know, to identify that opportunity every 5 minutes, 4 hour or 1 hour, you know. So speak to your personality and the trading style comes and the tools to support that trading style comes through. One thing that I always rely on and advise our clients and our traders is trade the market the way it needs to be traded. An example that I always refer to is a mechanic, an auto mechanic. If you take your car, they'll diagnose what the problem is, and you'll reach down to the toolbox, and depending on which part of the vehicle he needs to fix or maintain or do checks and services, etc., you'll use the applicable tool. So it's the same thing with trading. The markets trade differently. Sometimes you need to scalp the market. Sometimes you need to follow the trend, you know, and sometimes the technicals speak more volume with regards to what's happening in the market. And you know, where the fundamentals might be more silent or have already transpired. So now the question is, where's the market going? So once you get a good feel, and when you use a good broker such as EXNESS that offers you all the different mix of the right tools for you to be able to, like you said, perform well, I think you find the right style for yourself as a personality. The right tools need to speak to that style. And importantly, as we've mentioned, the right broker such as EXNESS needs to complement those two other points. And you've got a successful trading business, you know, that's the way I would look at it.
So question for me though, in closing, so where can everybody who's going to watch this episode learn more about EXNESS and all the account types and all the tools that are available for each trader to take advantage of?
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, good point. So yeah, in closing, I would encourage our viewers and our listeners to go on to www.exness.com and you will be able to open your account there and find out all the details with regards to what EXNESS has to offer. We also do have EXNESS partners across the region. I would also encourage those that you are able to reach out to approach, and they will also assist you in setting up an account and guide you in the right ways. And follow us as well on our social media pages, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. We were very active there. Join our Telegram channels. We post a lot of daily information and market views and thoughts as well. So yeah, that's where I would guide our viewers and listeners to. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining in, for listening, and for those viewers that are out there as well, for tuning in to our inaugural podcast episode.
And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that we become a big community. And thank you again, guys. Until next time. Cheers. Bye-bye.